Hi.
How you doing?
Hey, good. Tony, good to see everybody. Hey, thanks for being here, John. Thanks for being here, everybody. Online, it's great to have you. This is our second iteration of our Songwriter Series in our night school, our new night school hybrid version, where we're doing it both online and in person. And we have John McCutcheon here, who is a longtime union member of our local and Local 1000, which John will tell you a little bit more about. And very, very much so a union advocate. John's going to talk to us today about protecting our intellectual property as a songwriter. So please, without much further ado, John McCutcheon, everyone.
Okay, before we get going, I am not going skiing. I busted my ankle about a month ago. So I've written a song. So now what? Let me start off by talking about a scenario that's probably familiar to many of you. You write a song, it's a great song, maybe it's a topical song, and you feel like you want to get it out there right away. And so you make a recording of it, you put it up on YouTube or Facebook, and boom, it's out there. And it starts getting liked, it starts getting shared, and it goes viral. Well, good for you and terrible for you, because you are completely exposed. You have no rights vis-a-vis that song. Anybody who listens to it, looks at it, could copyright that song from right underneath you. And there's a lot of myths about how to copyright that I want to talk about tonight. But the bottom line is, once you put a song out there, it is published. And once it is published, anybody can do anything with that without your permission. They have to have a mechanical license. That's part of the publishing thing we're going to talk about. And then the third piece we're going to talk about tonight is the performing rights organization. Once you have a song that is published, how do you get recompense for it being used in public ways, on television, and on radio, in restaurants, in yoga studios, just all the different places that your music is used. So let's start off with copywriting. Many of you have probably heard about the old print out a copy or make a recording, put it in an envelope, set it to yourself by certified mail, and do not open it, so that if there's ever a legal challenge, you have proof that this was mailed to you on this date. A few years back, that was challenged in court, and the people who did that lost. I talked to my music attorney today. He said, just don't have them do that. And just putting this, having the little C with a circle, so it looks like it's copyright, does not protect you either. What you need to do is you need to copyright it. And I have a little video here that I made of me copywriting a song just this afternoon, and I'm going to walk you through it. And all this, by the way, is going to be available online after all the night schools are online. Also, there is, for those of you who are out there in the video world, I have some handouts here that have lots of links and lists that Aaron will be happy to send you. He'll put the information in the chat of where to link here. Aaron, can we run the video, please?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, copyright.gov is where we're going to start. This is the Library of Congress is the branch of government that handles copyrights. And they are doing so you're starting here. This is where copyright.gov will get to you. You see the arrow, it's going to go to registration. Click on that. And you're going to be doing something in the performing arts. Click on that. That will get you to this page that has all kinds of interesting videos and stuff, but you're going to register a work of the performing arts. So when you're ready to do it there. You're going to get all these little things, and then you're going to get to your login page. Now you can create a login, and it will remember it. They're particularly picky about redoing your password every 6 months. So you log in, and because I've been there before, they say, hey, John, welcome. I'm gonna, hold on. Can you stop that for a second, Aaron?
Sure.
Thank you. First of all, I want to tell you that you can register. What I'm doing here is I'm registering one piece of music. It's going to cost me $65. You can register up to 10 pieces at the same time for $65. So it's important to know that if you have a batch of songs that you want, usually what I do is when I do a recording, I will do that batch all at once. But for the purposes of this, we are doing one song. So can you back that up just a little bit, Aaron? Yes, there. Okay. So over on the left, where you see my mouse cursor, you can do standard application. That's what I'm going to click on. Or if you look down, other registration options, it says register certain groups of published works, go on down there, register group of unpublished works, which is what you would want to do if you're going to do batches. So go ahead. You can start the video again. Thank you. So I'm going to start the registration process. There's all kinds of stuff. Okay, stop that, Aaron. What you're going to need to prepare to do this smoothly is you need to have a song to register or a group of songs to register. You need to be prepared to pay $65. You can do it with a debit card. You can do it with a credit card. They can actually set up an account for you there. And you need to have a demo of the song because you're gonna copyright the song, you're gonna pay for the copyright registration, and then you have to give them a copy of the song. All this is happening here. Okay, start the video again, please. We're starting the registration. There's all kinds of stuff in there that's good to read. Start the registration. Okay. What type of work is this? This is a work of the performing arts. This is a song. You got to read through all that. When you've read through all that, click that and go up to the top and say continue. Then you're going to create a new song, type of work, title of work being registered. Then you put the title. In this case, it's a song called Kneel. Kneel. Okay, so there you see it at the bottom there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Continue. Is this a published work? No. When was it created? In this particular one, 2023. Continue. Okay, now here's where you put the authorship. I wrote this song by myself. I add me. This is going to be created for you. So you don't have to add yourself. Just make sure you do everything that is in the red stars there. That will be saved. And so, because you're going to see, you're going to enter your information many times on this. Save. Okay, what did you do? In this case, I created the music and the lyrics. Are there any other authors? No, in this case. Who are the claimants? I'm claiming it myself. I'm the copyright holder. Add me. There I am populated again. Move on. Are there any, let's see, are there any other claimants? No, in this case. Move on. Are there any limitations of the claim? No, I'm just copyrighting the song. I'm not limiting anything there. Then, rights and permission contact. Again, it's me. And for some reason, I've decided that putting in the country is important. I don't know why. Continue. The next page is for correspondence. Imagine it's you again. And then the next is, where do we mail this thing? Again, you add yourself there. Continue. Special handling, and I actually made a mistake here on purpose. Click something down there, and this is the kind of error message you get. You click continue. Okay, this is certifying who is doing this. Let's put my name in there. Continue. Okay, you're at the point now where you've done everything. You're checking all the stuff to make sure it's right. And then you go back, you're ready to say, I'm ready to check out. So you go back up to the top and you add to the cart. And you can see that down there, it is $65 for this one song. Ready to go to checkout? I'm going to pay with a credit card, and I didn't include this, imagine, in something that's going to be in the internet. You get to here, and then there's the kind of receipt that you're going to get at the end. And what you will get then is you'll get an email from the Copyright Office. Payment is successful. But then you have to upload your song. So here's the next page you get. Pretty typical. Select the files to upload. So I'm just going through all the places. Go to iTunes, iTunes Media, iTunes Music. Go down to where my stuff is, and it's in, I know it's in Demos 2023. There it is, Neil. I hit the X, and then you're ready to upload it. You have to start, you have to tell it to upload. And you will see that once this is uploaded, you click over here in the green. This will complete your registration process, and you will end up with a screen like that. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this right now, and even go through this again. I know you came in a little late. But so the process is really simple. You can do it in 5 minutes. And so you've got your great topical song that you want to have out there, and you're protected. And you will, it's not, I'll tell you, the certificate you're going to get, God knows how long stuff processing in the US government is going to be right now. It can be anywhere from 2 weeks to a year, trust me, even in the past. But you have this email that proves you paid for it, and then you uploaded your thing, and all your stuff that is in process will be on your page, which is just the other side of you logging in. Questions?
Go ahead. Does the recording have to be like the final draft?
Nope.
Okay.
No. In fact, the thing I did for this one, I made on my phone.
Okay, and are you also submitting lyrics?
You can submit lyrics, you don't have to.
And if you're covering a song and it's your arrangement, how is that approached? Or do you just not copyright
The arrange, I told the ASCAP people when I said, I'm so sorry you're not going to be here, that there are going to be some questions that could be above my pay grade. When I go to my PRO, my ASCAP, which we're going to get to shortly, that's where I put in, here is an arrangement of a traditional piece that I have created. If it's something that's owned by someone else, that's a little trickier because they actually own the copyright of that. And what would be really interesting to see, and let me do a little
Is there like a feature on there that asks that question?
That's just what I'm gonna look at.
And then last question for me, what if it's like a public domain song you're making the arrangement for? I guess that would fall in a similar category.
Mhm. I've got this all open up here. No internet, how about that? But I've been on the internet here before. Let's see if my phone will carry the weight.
Sorry, I stumped you.
Oh, that's all right. I have always done, if I was doing a song that was an arrangement of some extant thing, I would do that in ASCAP. Okay, while we're waiting for this to connect, you had a question? Tony?
You asked part of it, but I was gonna ask, aside from the providing an audio file, do you need to provide the actual like sheet music?
You can, and you can upload that. And if for some reason, I mean, you've been on the internet already to register all this, so why would uploading something be problematic? But you can mail stuff in. For instance, one of the other things that you can, oh, here we are, okay. One of the things that you can do and should do is you put out a recording, you can copyright the recording itself, because that's a different entity. People can actually sample that. They can, use, once we get into publishing, I'll tell you a story about that. And we're still not, for some reason. I'm really sorry. Aaron, what is the, you can edit this out of the, what is the, do we have I'm not seeing our Wi-Fi in here. Other networks, maybe? Here we go. What is the, yeah, let's type it in. This site can't be reached. Okay, let's try it one more time. Yeah, here we go. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, so you're gonna, let's say you're gonna register a standard. Okay, start a registration. What are you registering? It does not say an arrangement. You're signing a work of the performing arts. So I am not a lawyer, and I would encourage you, if you have questions this specific, to talk to a music attorney, because they're going to give you more definitive and up-to-date information than I can probably provide you right now. Tony, do you have another question?
No.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question. So in my instance, I would be, if I did upload a sample, or a demo, it wouldn't be something anybody wanted to use. But I could get a rough draft, but I can use like sheet music.
Yeah.
Lyrics and copyright that, but that's a separate process.
No, when
It's all the same.
you get to the upload part,
Yeah.
you would upload the printed music.
Both or either.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can definitely do both.
Yeah. Okay.
And for instance, when I do a copyright in multiple works, I have to upload all 10 pieces, and by that time I'm doing it off an album.
Yeah.
Any other questions about? Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, so let's say, okay, you're uploading, say, 10 songs.
Mhm.
You have several different writers.
They have, every copyright that you are doing has to be, for instance, if you wrote with John and you wrote 3 songs with her and 3, what's your name? Eric. If you wanted to, if you wrote 2 songs with Eric and 1 with Ed, you'd have to copyright those separately. You can, but if you did 3 songs with Johnny, you could do all of those together. Because as you saw in that process, you're saying, who are the writers for this thing I am copywriting? And you can add another writer. For instance, I did a whole album of co-writes with this guy, Tom Paxton, and you are able to save this stuff in a template. So the next time you come back, all this stuff you saw that we had to fill out, who's the correspondent, who's the claimant, blah, blah, blah. That's all there. So all you have to do is add in the names of the songs. Yes,
What about the split sheets?
the split sheets.
If it's 3 writers,
Percentages of the right.
what percentage of the song did you write?
You're copywriting it all together. How your publisher deals with
The
that,
split sheets.
that's, see, the publisher is, that's where we're going next. And it's, you have to, it's sort of like never the twain shall meet, but they need one another. And we'll get to that in a minute. I just want to make sure the copyright stuff you're all cool with. You have any other questions? And we, doesn't mean we can't.
I did
answer.
have a question.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
To kind of piggyback off what a question that was asked earlier, if let's just say you did upload that song that you just uploaded, and then maybe like a week later you want to actually collaborate with somebody else, would you do a new copyright, or would you just edit that one?
You can go back in and pick a previously copyrighted thing and you can amend it.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it definitely does.
And I mean, there's constant, how many different, for completely different versions of the song Hallelujah did Leonard Cohen write? He wrote at least 3 completely different sets of lyrics. And, Leonard was not copyrighting his own songs. His people were copywriting his songs. But yeah, you want to keep it current and you want it to have some kind of legal force. So when you get the certificate, I scan them and have them in a place on the computer, but I also have them in a safety deposit box. And you get, stuff happens all the time. I got a call about a dozen years ago from somebody who said, I just want to let you know I'm about to sue you because you stole my song Christmas in the Trenches. I said, really? I said, and tell me about this. When did you write this? I wrote it in 1994. I said, well, that's really interesting because I have a copyright certificate and a recording with that song out that came in 1984. That ended the discussion. And once we get the publishing thing taken care of, I'll tell you some other stories about why ownership needs to be proved from time to time. Is everybody ready to move on to publishing? Okay. And again, I have these notes here. Okay. So you've created this piece of work and you have proven that you've secured the ownership of it. How that gets out into the world is the job of the publisher. These are 2 side by side. Copyright owners don't get any direct money. They get it through their publisher. Now, a lot of people who are just starting off or who have just gotten lazy and like me and said, I don't think I want to give half my money to somebody else, start their own publishing company. And there's lots of stuff about how to do that, but let me explain what publishing does. Somebody wants to record your song. They have to go to the publisher and get permission via a mechanical license, which is the other piece of paper that's handed out there. Now, this stuff is changing all the time. And I wonder if the actual statutory rate is in here, because the statutory rate recently changed and it's much more generous. But basically what this says is I am this is an agreement entered into between the publisher and the person who wants to use this music. Let's say, Eric, you want to record one of Tony's songs. You would use this, send it to, as you would call up and say, I want a mechanical license, or there's a thing that you can just send them a filled out mechanical license. A mandatory mechanical license that comes from the person who wants to do the song. Because I guarantee you that when Tim McGraw wants to record a song written by, Steve Seskin is not sending Tim McGraw a mechanical license. Tim McGraw's people are sending it to all the people whose songs he wants to cover. I do my own publishing because when I started out, I didn't imagine anybody would want to do my songs. I didn't think they were any good. I just couldn't imagine how would this happen? And it's actually happened a lot, but it's still manageable enough for me to handle it. What are the pros? The pros are that you get to keep half the money. In a normal publisher creator relationship, you split it 50-50. So for instance, if I was Warner Music and Ed, you wrote a song and you said, well, I want you guys to handle this. When the money came in, the money would come into the publisher, and the publisher would then write a check or do a bank deposit for 50% of whatever was on that thing. So I was poor enough back then that I decided to do my own. And it's worked out okay. In fact, it worked out really well in a situation I will tell you about shortly. The bad thing is you have to do all the paperwork. You have to keep track of these. You have to collect the royalties. You have to hunt down the people who haven't paid you royalties for a year because you are your own publisher. That's what a publisher does.
How do you go about collecting royalties on yourself?
Well, okay. I incorporated my business 30 or 40 years ago. And so I wear different hats and I have to put myself in that head. Here I am, the head of this corporation, Appleseed Productions, but I'm also an employee of Appleseed Productions. I get a salary from them. And Appleseed is my publishing company and they administer all this. So when I am the creator, I get paid by the publisher, and the publisher has to go after and collect the money and then distributes it. But if I was your publisher, the money would come to me, like with the example with Ed, all the money would come to the publisher and the publisher then pays the copyright owner. Does that answer your question?
No, I thought BMI, ASCAP.
That's different.
Collected it for you.
No.
Oh.
No, they collect money. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself now. The PROs, the performing rights organizations, they're the ones who get the money from use on the radio, television, in restaurants, in gyms, all kinds of places that your music is used in a public way. That goes to the publisher who gives it to half of it to there. But as far as someone recording a song of yours, let's say you wrote a song and Beyonce fell in love with it. That would be a whole nother thing. And that would if it was played on the radio, I mean, that's the interesting thing is all the times that Aretha Franklin sang Respect, she never got a penny of that because she didn't write it. And this is one of 2 countries in the world that doesn't pay artists for radio airplay. Only the songwriter and the publisher. but we'll get to PROs in just a minute. Now, what are there's a thing at the top of the back of the notes here. There's a great article I read on how to start your own publishing company. And I would just suggest that you go to that link, because the steps are, you have to have at least one published work, okay? Let's say I wanted that Neil, the thing I just copyrighted, was my very first song ever. And I wanted to have be my own publisher. So you have to have one published work so that you can get the whole ball rolling. You have to create a name for your publishing company. Then you have to register that name with the state. Then you have to open a bank account or piggyback on a bank account that your business already has. It has to be different from you as a human individual. It has to be another name. It could be a DBA. You don't have to do an LLC. You don't have to incorporate. You could just do a DBA. You choose a PRO, a performing rights, and then you copyright your work, but that's actually, you're going to do that first anyway. Now, there are organizations that will do all the dirty work for you. The most well-known is Harry Fox. Harry Fox is a company that went to all these publishers and said, listen, we know it's a pain in the ass for you to send out all these mechanical things and track them and get them back in time and enforce them and go out and collect the money and everything. So for 10% of the gross, we will do that for you. Okay? And I list 3 different groups here. There's Mechanical Licensing Collective, and there will be a woman from that organization who's going to be doing a subsequent night school. So I'd really encourage you. Questions about mechanical licenses and stuff like that.
Right?
What?
2 weeks from tonight, right?
2 weeks from tonight. Thank you, Jonna. And there's also CD Baby. And this is the one I use just for getting my songs on the streaming services and download services and stuff like that. So I don't have to do that. And it's $25 for an entire album. And every week you get money from them. So there's lots of ways you can do this without being saddled to do. You can still have your own publishing company. I do, but you don't have to do all the paperwork. The other thing that a really good professional publishing company will do is pitch your stuff. Because the money these days is not in royalties. Nobody's making it. And of course, streaming is larceny, pure and simple. I mean, your first 1,000 streams of a single song, not accumulated songs, are exempt. Now, you don't suppose there's an algorithm out there that's kind of making sure that you only get 990 streams? Somebody's getting rich at Spotify, and it ain't us. Taylor Swift is not making great money at Spotify. If Neil Young had said, I'm not going to protest Joe Rogan at Spotify. I'm going to protest the economic model. He would have had every musician on there in his camp, and then the public wouldn't know what the setup is. 1/24 of 1 penny per stream. So the one thing that a publisher can do is pitch your songs, because licensing is where the money is these days. About 15 years ago, the U.S. Postal Service came to me, and I had recorded a Woody Guthrie song called Mail Myself to You. And they called my record company and said, we'd like to use this cut in our television holiday commercial. And the record company, Rounder, called me up and said, do you have anything against the U.S. Postal Service? I said, no, Why are you asking? He says, well, because Burger King wanted to use Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood, and he is a vegetarian and refused to let Burger King use his song. That's principle for you. So let me just give you specific numbers. This was a television commercial that had a 6-week run. It wasn't even like a Rock, which you've heard at every NFL game in memory. This was a 6-week run. And they offered $140,000 for the rights to use that. Well, immediately, half of it went to the publisher of the song itself, okay, which was Woody Guthrie Publications. Yay! They hadn't got a $70,000 check in a long time. And then the other half went to my record company because they owned the actual recording that was being used. But by in my contract, I got half of that. My buddy Tom Paxson recently, his publisher found a cassette of a demo completely unrecorded that Citibank ended up using. There's some serious money out there in licensing, and what a publisher can do for you, and not Harry Fox, not MLC, a publisher will be out there because that's how they're making their money. You know, they're out there pitching your stuff to all kinds of stuff like film, television, commercials, internet stuff, video games. There is so much potential monetization out there, which is what we're going to be talking about in the next night school that we do. So, so how do I find a publisher that isn't me? There are some collectives out there that are doing things. I didn't have time to do all the Googling on this, but or if you have something that's really, say, hey, so-and-so has this publisher and I'm doing the same kind of thing that they're doing. So will you introduce me to your publisher? And if they think they can make some money off of you, just like when you're looking for an agent, you can't get really good money until you have an agent, but an agent will take you until you're making pretty good money. So it's kind of a catch-22 thing, but that's the one thing that a third-party publisher can do for you. So, any questions about publishing? It's really important you understand the basic premise that here's the creator over here and here's the publisher. They can be the same person, but you have to put on a different hat. And all the money that comes into that is generated because of a song is paid to the publisher, not to the creator. So the publisher gets the money, gives half of it to the creator. Okay? Questions? Anybody? Before we move on to PROs?
How do publishers track? If they're enforcing and they're collecting, is that kind of their thing, or do you expect them to do?
Well, if you look at the mechanical license agreement, and you can create your own. I, in fact, have a list of 10 different templates for a mechanical license. And it's important to know that you really have to have a current one, because the one that I've been using said the mechanical license fee, and it's set up by Congress. It's not a negotiable thing. It is established by Congress. Up until recently, it was 9.1 cents per song per play. And it has recently was recently raised to 12.1% and is now 12.4%. Yes.
I just think it's important to make sure you're inserting all your metadata properly, your ISRC coding everything on the tracks. That's how it is tracked. That's how you get paid.
There's all kinds of metadata is what John is, go ahead, John.
In your recording process, you have to embed like your ISRC codes and the metadata of each song, and that's how it's traced or tracked, that it belongs to you.
And if you, when you go to, for instance, CD Baby, which is the medium I've been using, or even when I have CDs manufactured, I have to put that in for every track. And then it is
You were responsible for that.
for putting it in there.
Yes.
And then it's easy to track on the radio. But be that as it may, you know that Lady Gaga and Bruce Springsteen and Beyonce have people on their staff whose sole job is to track. And at Harry Fox or whomever you have administering this stuff, they're not making any money until you get paid. So there are provisions in here that say you will report every quarter, every semi-annually, whatever. And you can put in there whatever you want. This is simply a boilerplate. And I'll tell you that the mechanical rate for digital stuff is about half of the mechanical rate for physical stuff. But I just took that out and say, every time you get a digital download, I mean, why not? Why should it be cheaper if someone downloads? It's still the same song. It's crazy. So I just put for all sales, digital and physical, the rate is 12.4%. So what I would suggest is that before you create your own mechanical license, you become familiar with what the important elements are. And find something that it looks easy and that you can keep track of and that is beneficial to you. Because this is where it ends. You can't go back and renegotiate.
Is this something you probably would get with an entertainment attorney that would really have the most current?
If an entertainment attorney does not know what a mechanical license is, you don't want that attorney.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, Gilbert.
I'll just, maybe a silly question, this is just a basic template?
Yes, this is
Okay,
just this is a basic boilerplate, and you can find boilerplates. I went through this afternoon looking at all kinds of boilerplates, and some of them were so outdated, and some were these fill in the blank. There's nothing there. You have to know what kind of stuff you need to put in there, and so I chose this one simply because it contained all the legalese and different parts that from which you could create your own.
Okay, because I just saw it was a number 10, it says agreement should be constructed in accordance with the laws of
The state of Texas,
Right.
exactly.
Right, it's over.
Yeah. Can we move on to PROs?
Mhm.
Okay, any questions from the online crew? And I realize you don't have the I think, or maybe Bill, Aaron put a link to these things in the chat. Okay, performing rights organizations. This is what you were talking about before, Eric. These are the people who, when you hear a song on the radio, who makes the money from that? Currently, it's only the publisher and copyright holder. Those are the only people. There's a bill before Congress now, which has been there forever. And it's not likely to get passed in the next 3 years. But what it does is it aligns our payment system with the rest of the world. For instance, in Europe, everybody who played in Aretha's band gets a cut every time it's played. Aretha gets a cut, and the publisher and the composer get their cut. And so they're saying over there, there's a huge escrow fund filled with all kinds of money that is going to be due to American musicians once we get in line so that their musicians get paid when stuff is played here. You understand what I'm saying? I don't see the downside, except it means terrestrial radio is going to have to pay more money. So the performing rights organizations. There are essentially two here in the United States. The American Association of Composers, Arrangers, and Publishers. The acronym is ASCAP, and then there's Broadcast Music Incorporated, which is BMI. CSAC is a by invitation only performing rights organization, and a couple of songwriters that I really respect went there because they were giving advances like a record company would. Say, come be on CSAC instead of ASCAP, and we'll give you $50,000 and you will work that off in your royalties. But they both told me recently, there's been a change in leadership and it's not what it used to be. There's also SOCAN, which is primarily for Canadians, but American musicians can join that. So from a practical standpoint, ASCAP and BMI are what you got. Now, why join one or the other? They essentially offer the same kind of services. They will go for radio, TV play, restaurants, clubs, gyms, Muzak, and it's really kind of discouraging the first time you get a check from Muzak. I remember taking an orchestration class when I was in college, and I would eat late in the cafeteria, so everybody would clear out, and I could put all my score along a big, I'm doing a 16-bar arrangement of something just to get my feet wet. And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, and I all of a sudden know there's music playing. I'm thinking, geez, there are people who do this so you don't really listen to it. And like licensing, there are so many sources of money out there that a performing rights organization can collect for you. I got a call from this is 20 years ago, from my office manager. And she said, John, you got a check from ASCAP today. And I said, okay, we'll just deposit it. She says, no, it's like 10 times the biggest check you've ever gotten from them. You need to come down here. I went down there, and it was this all coded. And I said, I don't know this code. So it was a song I had co-written with a friend of mine. I called him up. He said, well, I got a friend at the ASCAP office in Nashville, and he's looking up what this code is because I haven't seen it before either. He called me back and said, are you sitting down? I said, yes, I'm sitting down. He said, ringtones. I said, what? We never made any ringtones. They said some kid, it was John Carpenter. This was a song from an album of mine, a Four Seasons song. This was a song called Halloween. And some kids made a ringtone from this song about the time that John Carpenter's latest Halloween movie came out. And it went nuts. They collect on ringtones. Who knew? Video game stuff. There are so many sources out there. Now, the way they do this is they do a thing they call sampling. And they are not they're not reading all the data that comes in. They're not listening to every radio station. They're not listening to every restaurant. So basically, yeah, the Lady Gagas and the Bruce Springsteens and the Beyoncés that have their people actually doing sampling and then calling the PRO and saying, you say you're sampling this much. Well, we did our own sampling and it was this. The PROs are really the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You can go for a long time and not get anything. And then suddenly you'll get a check, and you'll probably get checks pretty regularly, however meager or good they are. Once I got my ringtone check,
got your attention.
I got their attention. Yes.
Are you also let's say you performed at Eddie's Attic and 10 songs and 5 of them were yours. Are you recording those songs too?
That's the great
Yes.
thing that's happened in
But
the last
not all
10 or
venues are paying that, because I play a lot of places that I know don't pay the yearly fee. So I don't even bother.
Well, one of the things that really revolutionized things for performers about 10 or 15 years ago is first BMI and then ASCAP followed suit because they're competing for the same pool of musicians. You could report your live sets. So let's say you are doing a regular gig at City Winery or at, Parker's on Ponce or wherever that is hiring music, you can report your own set lists. And you can explore what's that?
Of your songs.
Of your songs. You can also report other people's songs.
Really?
Yeah. If I want to sing a Bruce Springsteen song, I report that too. I mean, I want everybody to get their fair share. I mean, this place is saying music is an important part of our business. And we musicians should get our fair share. Now, a friend of mine was a tracker for ASCAP for a while, and he heard, people, you hear it. People say, I can't afford a club owner, a restaurant owner, I can't afford to pay this. The truth is, they can't do anything unless a member of that PRO files a complaint. So if Jana was a member of ASCAP, for instance, and knew that I was playing a bunch of my music and they're crying poor and not paying into it, she would have to initiate a complaint against wherever. And I know Eddie Sadik pays it because I see it on the reconciliation sheet.
Like I perform a lot of these wineries.
Yeah.
And I know they don't.
Yeah, well,
They're just.
when they're counting on music.
And they live off of like, music brings the people up.
Absolutely.
But it's like 3 nights a week, there's music at some of these places.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I know they
you're
don't-
reporting where you're playing.
I don't report it because I don't wanna lose my job.
Well, number one, you would only lose your job if you initiated an action.
Mm.
Now, if ASCAP said, hey, listen, we know there's music being played here. What, don't you want to have the writers have their fair share? Because you're not getting the money as a performer. Only on the songs you have written will you get paid. But I will tell you what, that will really put you on the PRO radar. If all of a sudden you're getting all this, you're reporting your own stuff, so you know it's getting in there. You're reporting it directly to ASCAP. You're not relying on a restaurant or a club to report your stuff. Because I know when I play at Eddie's, there's a reconciliation and this amount of money goes to
Because
the.
they honor it. They
Yeah.
honor musicians.
Yeah, but they
can't
don't
play stuff.
report what we play.
Like, can I report them and they don't know it's me?
Anonymous, yeah.
Okay.
So here's the sort of route that you're going through. You created a song, you copyright it because you want to protect it. You want to be able to prove it's yours. And then you want to get it out to people. And if you were going to publish it, and these days that could be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, it could be a CD, it could be a digital download, a single download. Once you publish that, once you put that out there, anybody can record it. They don't have to ask your permission.
That's what I was gonna ask.
But they do have to fill out a mechanical license. This is the legal permission that the publisher is giving to a third party to record that song. But you cannot reasonably deny if, I don't know, if Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to sing one of my songs, I could not legally prevent her from doing that. I could be really tardy with a mechanical license, but I could not, yes.
Right, well, that's why I heard Prince, certain artists, he didn't want to cover his music, so I guess what, told him that he couldn't record it. I'm hearing different now, from what you're telling me.
It's true. I mean, you legally, once it's published, meaning it's available. Think of all the ways music can become available, sheet music, CDs, YouTube, whatever. They have to fill this out. And you cannot reasonably deny. If you're Prince, you could probably make things really hard for them. Are they gonna, I mean, am I gonna sue Prince because he won't let me sing Nothing Compares to You? He's got better lawyers than I do. And that's often what the story is. I mean, there was a thing on a Garth Brooks album a number of years ago that several music publishers called me and said, that's almost a carbon copy of your song. And I said, yeah, but do I want my life to be consumed with that? And Garth has got better lawyers than I do. But on the other hand, when Bruce Springsteen recorded I'm on Fire, somebody said, that sounds like a lot like Rodney Crowell's Leaving Louisiana in the Broad Daylight. And Bruce said, damn, you're right. And sent him a big check. So you got this, you copyrighted it, you got to get it out of the world. That's what a publisher does, whether you do it or you sign on with a publishing company, whether you retain your rights as a self-publisher and you sign on to Harry Fox or MCL or MLC, it'll function the same way. Okay. And then there are ways, and you do all the registering for your PRO online, just like you saw the copyright thing. It's really easy to get in there. Just decide which one you want to go with. What I did is I just looked at, how many artists are like me in this PRO. And I just scrolled through their artists and said, okay, ASCAP looks good to me. And these are also the organizations that are really doing a lot of important lobbying. Publishers aren't doing that. Creators aren't doing that. It's the PROs that are fighting changes to the copyright law that would be disadvantageous to writers and so on. So it's they're doing good stuff besides making you money.
So is this also when someone, a celebrity, the POTUS, for example, uses music that he does not have permission to use? Now, he's not performing it.
But it's at his very public events.
Right.
And it's Ronald Reagan used Born in the USA as a rally song. When someone asked Springsteen about it, he said, well, I guess he really didn't listen to the lyrics. Because it's not a patriotic jingoistic song. It's about a guy who comes back from Vietnam and feels screwed over every which way to Sunday. It was sort of like, but I was born in the USA. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there's, as you've read, there's cease and desist orders. I actually wrote a song with Tom Paxton about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I actually sent it to her office saying, I know a lot of musicians, politicians are using musicians' music without permission. I'm giving you permission to use this song at your rallies. She's not, though.
Give us the lyric. What was in there?
When I listen to her railing, makes me long for Sarah Palin. That was just one. Yeah. I hope the CDC comes up. I hope the CDC comes up with a vaccine for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that's out there now. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
That should be.
It was a necessary song to write. It was a necessary song to write. Okay, copyright. Any questions? we're getting into the hour thing, and this is usually when we're winding up and getting more questions and I don't even pretend to have been thorough. I've tried to hit the main points and give you links to follow up on your own. The PROs, performing rights organizations, you know, so you've got the creator, you've got the publisher, and then you've got the people out there that are finding all the other ways that don't pertain to someone who's paid specifically either by a streaming membership or downloading a song, remember those, or buying a CD, remember those. That is what a publisher directly would be in charge of. Okay. One last story before we go into any more. Copyright infringement, what does that mean? How can that happen? And I'm not just talking about the guy who called me and said, you actually stole this song that I wrote 10 years after you recorded it. I got a call from the same guy who wrote Halloween with me saying, I got a call from an attorney and he thinks we might be party to a copyright infringement lawsuit. And I said, well, let me talk to the attorney. And he said, this is in the beginning of the streaming stuff. There, people were still doing downloading. Hell, this was even when Napster, remember them? Which is where, didn't Elon Musk started Napster? Forget who it was that started at Napster. But in any event, they said, yeah, they have your stuff up there. Are you with Harry Fox? And I said, no, I've never signed up with Harry Fox. And they said, oh, well, these companies are all signing blanket licensing agreements with Harry Fox, assuming that anybody who's anybody would be with Harry Fox. And so let me ask you 3 questions. Do you own this song? I said, yes. Do you have a copyright for it? Yes. Do you have a license for this song from X, this streaming service? No, not that I know of. Are they offering this for sale? Let me go to their website. Yes. But they haven't, I mean, doesn't it depend on how many they sold? No. The fact that they are offering it for sale is the golden ticket. So if you own the song, you don't have a license for it, somebody has not licensed that song, and they are offering it for sale, that is the golden trifecta. That's the hat trick. And it's a slam dunk. And it's very advantageous to the copyright holder if it goes to trial. And it never goes to trial. So I did a deposition with a guy in one of these things, and he happened to have the same last name as my maternal grandmother, Zeller. I'd never met anybody named Zeller, and we started talking. We did half the deposition, then we went out to lunch together. He's just a lawyer. You know, he's just on the payroll. And I said, listen, dump 1, 2, 3. You know that's a slam dunk. You're going to lose. He said, yes, I know that. The company is hoping that they can sort of bleed you dry. They're just going to keep having attorneys talk to one another until you can't afford it anymore. But luckily, my attorney was on retainer. I mean, not on retainer, on, what do they call it? When they only get paid on contingents. And I said, well, why did they do this? Well, they figure they're gonna bleed you out. And essentially, when they've paid $1 million in lawyers' fees, they'll settle. And I said, this is a terrible business model. He said, it's the music business. You're looking for a good business model. Don't look to the music business. So anyway, so you have avenues of recourse if you feel like there has been a copyright infringement. And often it's just a lawyer sending a letter. There was a big country star recorded one of my songs and then decided not to put it on his album, but made a video of it and put it on YouTube. And indicated nowhere that he didn't write it. So a couple of nasty letters later, and it was, I didn't want him to take it off because I said, I want that guy to be singing those words.
So if you were to upload a video of yourself doing a cover on YouTube, you should probably label it in the front end of
Yes.
it, like,
I always do.
and then,
I always do. I put copyright 2025 John McCutcheon or Apple song.
or if it's a cover, you put the other person,
Yes,
all
absolutely.
that information, just to
Yeah.
cover your track. Last question, is there a difference between Sound Exchange and Mechanical Licensing Collective?
What Sound Exchange, if I could, everybody here should join Sound Exchange. It doesn't cost you any money. These are the people,
I just got a check from them.
yes, isn't it nice? These are the people who collect stuff from the internet. And it's different from what ASCAP and BMI are doing. I don't know that it'll be that way for long because Sound Exchange has been so successful in collecting millions and millions of dollars from the use of music on the internet.
So the YouTube, the Spotify, all, they collect all that for you.
Well,
Once you join.
yeah,
Join.
yeah, Sound Exchange is, I only knew about it because a friend of mine was one of the people who started it. And he said, you gotta get out here on the ground floor, and I, like John, I get, what? Is it 2 or 4 checks a year?
That was only about one.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet.
but it's, I think it's given out quarterly, which is why I was asking whether it was for. But Sound, it doesn't cost you any money to join it, you should just do it
That's
right
where
away.
the ISRC code is, because you have to upload the song and the ISRC code that's attached with it.
They can guide you through that process.
Oh, embedding the ISRC code, no, that's different.
Oh, okay.
Well, the IRSC code is only applicable if it's a recording of the song that you are planning to market. You don't have that until it's mastered, actually.
Engineer.
That's when it's assigned.
That was your question, she was trying to, who creates that?
Who creates what?
You said
The
the,
ISRC.
The RSA,
You're,
yeah.
yes.
you're sound engineer.
Sound-
or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's.
My mastering engineer.
Okay, that's, yeah.
That's what you was trying to-
I'm like,
yeah, that's.
And
I'm like, yeah, y'all like, okay, yeah.
And for
That's
my,
who, I'm like, who actually creates this?
Yeah,
well, it's,
you could buy your own though, like
Yeah.
I have like, I just bought a bulk of them. And then I have a spreadsheet, and then every time I write something and I'm ready to get to that stage of recording, that song already has.
Is it
code
similar
ready
to a barcode?
It's like a barcode.
Because you
It's
know,
a code.
when you was
Yeah.
doing physical product, you would get your barcode.
right,
And now, I guess with the audio,
It's a,
You-
yeah,
you
it's a
code
code
the
that's
audio.
embedded in the audio
Yeah.
itself to
the
identify.
barcode would be for the actual physical CD.
Yeah.
right?
And the IRC,
International Standard Recording. ISRs.
Okay.
so yeah, your mastering engineer or your recording engineer would assign those. And I don't know about you, if you've noticed this, John, but I believe that the first number of digits are peculiar to you.
Yes,
And then it's what year it is, and then it's, here's the first one of the year you're putting on, and the next one is 2, the next one is 3, next one, and it's a set number, so you start losing zeros to the left once you get to the double digits.
but I'm less familiar, even though she's coming next 2 weeks from now, the Mechanical Licensing Collective. How is that different from Sound Exchange? That I haven't done anything.
I haven't ever done anything with them either. I'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That'll,
Okay.
that'll be a good question to ask them. What I read from, I wonder if if the, yeah, it's, let's see. Mechanical. Wait. Mechanical Oh, let's see. Mechanical. License, is it cooperative?
Collective
Collective,
licensing. Board.
okay,
The website is the mic.com.
right. Okay, how they describe themselves. You are a songwriter, lyricist, or composer with music available for streaming or digital platforms.
That sounds like sound exchange.
Do you know about the MLC? In this video, you'll learn about the streaming royalties. Now, streaming is different. What Sound Exchange is doing is collecting all the kind of ways that music is used on the internet, not just streaming. So their URL is here with Harry Fox and CD Baby. Go explore, see what makes the most sense for you. And there will, I guarantee you, there will be people who will be happy to answer your questions. Because the more mass there was, it's like a union. The more people you have, the better shape everybody's in. Okay, my dear virtual friends out there, do you have any questions, comments before we put this thing to bed and I put my foot up?
I would just like to say thank you. I'm a bit younger, so this has been very informational, and I'll definitely be using it as I look into copyright in the future.
Great, great. And this will be available online it'll be housed, is that at the at our website here?
On YouTube.
On YouTube, but yeah, we can't upload anything on the website at the moment.
Oh, okay.
It's dead. Our website is and.
It will be available.
It's there, but we can't change anything at the moment.
Okay.
And the video is on our computer here, so if someone wants to.
So that first session we did with the songwriters, that's not up right now.
Is it, Aaron?
It will be in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So
And he'll.
what about this one? Will this be up?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So yeah, it will be up, Genesis. And
Thank you.
sure. And I'm glad you're here because one of the things that a lot of people who are new into the music business are thinking exactly how we started this entire gathering. I've got a great song. It's about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm just going to put it up on the internet because people are going to love this. Everybody used to hear it. You get lots of hits. And somebody else says, oh, I'm going to copyright that song because it's not copyrighted. And it is out there. You are, as I use the word, completely exposed. So this is why the first step is always copyright. And once you put it on YouTube, it's already published. So that's when a publisher gets busy. Okay, any other questions? Thanks. I had hoped that there would be a publisher here and a PRO person here. And so some of these questions are a little above my pay grade. But
All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all being here. Have a wonderful night. And stay tuned for our next and final of this series, which is on the 20th in 2 weeks.
And it's only on Zoom.
And it's only on Zoom and it's about it's about the next stage. How do you monetize this? So this has been talking about how to prep to get monetization, but that will be, you have all the pieces in place now. You have a publisher, you have the material.
It won't be in person, it will be on Zoom.
So thank you very much. I was glad to finally get out. I've been sitting at home for way too long and I'm going back there now.